Hi, it's Ashley from Westcott, and today I'm going to be going over how to make on-camera flash look more natural. So before I get started, if you're new to our channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn bell notifications. That way you can be the first to know when we post new videos. There are many reasons why a photographer might want to use on-camera lighting. A lot of times we're working in locations where we can't bring light stands, or sometimes we're working very quickly where we need gear that can move around with us. On-camera flash is a very useful lighting technique that when used properly can result in some beautiful photos. Here are some tips to help you get better on-camera flash photos. Since my subject was being backlit with her back to the sun, it was giving us a great hair light but leaving her face in shadows. In order to fix this, I brought in an FJ80 speedlight to help fill in those shadows. So the trick here is to not overpower your ambient light. So a common mistake a lot of beginners make is they tend to overpower that ambient light, which can often result in very unnatural and very harsh lighting. And this can be very unflattering to your subject. So I started by getting a good ambient exposure. So I actually turned off my flash and just took a photo of the scene by itself. Once I got a good exposure on the background, I added my flash in and added it until there's a good balance between the ambient and the flash from the speedlight. So by adding a flash to my camera, I was able to get both a good exposure on my subject and the background, and I didn't have to choose which one was more important. So another tip when using on-camera flash is you want to add some type of diffusion to the front of your flash. So for this, I added a diffusion dome to my FJ80. The diffusion dome is actually going to make the light omnidirectional, meaning there's going to be more even light spread overall. So one misconception when using diffusion domes is that people often think it makes your light softer. So this is often not the case. Since the diffusion dome is only making your light slightly bigger, it's not actually making your light that much softer. So the actual advantage of using a diffusion dome is it's going to make your light a lot more even throughout the whole image and help you avoid things like hot spots on your subject's skin. While our subject has great skin, we don't really need a diffusion dome, but if you're working with a subject that has oily skin, it will help reduce hot spots. So the diffusion dome is actually very useful when shooting indoors. Since the light is actually omnidirectional, the light's going to bounce around the room, making it a lot more easy to get flattering lighting. So one thing you want to keep in mind when using a diffusion dome is you're going to lose flash power. Sometimes it's around a stop or two depending on what type of diffusion you're using. So you're going to want to increase the output of your flash to compensate for that. So the best thing you can do when using on-camera flash is actually bounce your light source. So by bouncing it off of a larger subject, you're actually increasing your flash size and getting a lot more even directional light. So bouncing your light is really important because it adds direction to your flash. This adds shadows and highlights to your subject's face, giving it a much more natural and dimensional look. Bouncing your light is easiest when doing it indoors since there's things like walls and ceilings you can bounce your lights off of, but it's also possible to do it outdoors. So when shooting in this location, I noticed there wasn't a lot of places to bounce my light source off of. The only large surface available was the walls of the building itself. So bouncing the light off of this wall was not ideal for me for two reasons. So firstly, the wall itself was a very dark wood color, which would actually absorb the light instead of bouncing it onto my subject. The other reason is that even if it did bounce the light, not only would the light bounce, but so would the color, and giving us a very mixed lighting situation. So it's best to bounce your light off of a white surface or as close to white as possible. That way you're maximizing your output while getting consistent color. So since I did not have a large white wall available, I simply brought in a reflector to use. By aiming my speedlight at the reflector, I was able to use that bounced lighting to light up my subject's face. If you compare this photo to the other two photos I took, you'll notice the light's a lot more directional and softer. Since I'm using a larger light source, the light's going to be softer and also the catch lights are going to be larger and more flattering to my subject. So when first starting out with flash, learning how to bounce your light can be very tricky, but once you get the hang of it, it's a very useful technique to get more natural looking photos. So these are just some of my favorite tips when just starting out with on-camera flash photography. What are some techniques that you guys learned when you were just starting out? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching.